Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good afternoon everybody. Today is the 14th of April, and I just want to wish everybody a great day. And I just want to say that Patreon appreciates everybody that's with us. Our Discord chat room is vibrant and happening, and I appreciate every one of our members immensely. It's great to be with you guys in the Iraqi dinar study. So, hey, we're going to get started on some news, and here we go. So, for all you early birds in the daytime or throughout the afternoon and even into the evening that enjoy coffee, you know, Freedom Forge Coffee has some fabulous blends, and they have some tinctures, etc. But hey, one thing I like to say is that one of my favorites is the Sumatra. It just works for me. I like that dark, rich, deep flavor, no bite. It's phenomenal. So try some. Hey, and don't forget, down below in the details is all the information that you need for the great stuff that they offer. And also, don't forget, Militiaman 5, and for the discount code of about 5%, and please enjoy the coffee. So starting out tonight, there's an article that was out yesterday. We all know the advisor Saleh, and he says 57% of the public spending will be allocated to salaries and social welfare in 2024. There's some key points in this, but you know, look, it says he's talking about spending. It says the remaining spending, whether operational or investment, remember the 2023, 24, 25 budget, tripartite, has components in it for operational investment. What is it? It's focused on supporting service projects with high efficiency without waste, describing this as a positive development that reflects what is known as financial consolidation, which is represented by combating financial extravagance, preserving public funds, and improving financial transactions. I did a little history today, and I went back to I think it was September or August 9th, vice versa. Man, I think it was September 8th, to be fair. There's an article that was out, and it was specifically about the details of how advanced Iraq has come back in September of 2024 in banking and the relationships with the United States Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and the International Monetary Fund. I think if you guys go back and find that, I'll try to put the link or something below, or in Patreon and in Discord. But it's a good read because it's lengthy, it's very long, but it describes what they were doing and ready to do with the correspondent banks, with foreign currencies. And one item was not discussing exchange rate change. Well, it was coming from Alak. He's the central banker. He wouldn't talk about that. So if I can, I'll even later tonight maybe put that into the room as a a flash in the past type reminder. Because just because it hasn't didn't do anything then, doesn't mean they're not doing it now. But if they got to that level in September of 2024, and all the new technologies that they're using, and all the interconnectivity that they've been doing, it is really powerful. So I'll try to do that for everybody tonight. Basically, today or yesterday, it says these policies, per Saleh, have had a positive impact on the growth of the gross domestic product, which has witnessed an unprecedented qualitative leap in the history of the national economy. Our last video, we talked about that, the qualitative. I picked up that word in a couple articles, and I put those out. And here again, they talk about it. So basically, here again, the advisor is using the term qualitative leap in the country's national economy. Qualitative leap means it's getting better, it's getting good, it's getting quality, okay? When you see that type of wording, to me, that's a trigger, and it's awesome. So we'll move on to the Prime Minister. Al-Sudani has been very vocal. He's stressing in this article the importance of the private sector. And I think we all know that the private sector is going to be that non-oil revenue stream that he's been talking about for a long time. It says the Prime Minister stresses the importance of private sector projects receiving the support of the World Bank. It says that the Prime Minister, Sheikh al-Sudani, He met with the Vice President of the Middle East and North Africa, Osman Dayan, and his accompanying delegation. And according to what they had to say, it says the World Bank delegation reviewed the projects under discussion with ministries and authorities related to Iraq in the sectors of railways, highways, and energy, including the fixed gas platform in the port of Al-Fa. The Ministry of Electricity's plan for the coming years in the field of expansion of electricity production, transmission and distribution, and other infrastructure projects. This is about investment. This is about the private sector. I mean, these are all trade oriented, and they're major sectors, right? The World Bank's efforts in supporting Iraq, stressing the importance of the private sector projects, enjoy the support of the bank, which is the World Bank, and the International Finance Corporation, which is an arm of the World Bank. It says the World Bank's readiness to stand with Iraq in its development renaissance. You know, we all know what renaissance means. It's taking the old and bringing it back to new. Okay, so it's basically development in renaissance in all fields, as well as his readiness to provide facilities in financing, including private sector projects. Now, you guys remember that we all know that J.P. Morgan and Al-Alaq and the Iraqi Trade Bank are all about finance. I think the Arab Bank yesterday talked about coming in. They'd had an 80-year relationship with Iraq, and then now they've returned. They're going to open branches again, and obviously that's going to be very important. Having an 80-year relationship and then having to step aside for a little while, and now they're back. Obviously, the security and stability supports the fact that that's probably the good reason why they're coming back. This gentleman's name is Hadar Argawi. He says direct investment is a step towards expanding major projects. So again, the theme here is major projects. It says that this expert, he says economic expert, it says the imperative of moving towards direct investment to implement projects in all sectors without exceptions. In other words, let's do it, it's imperative. He says that direct investment is an important step towards expanding the implementation of projects within the large and globally important Iraqi labor market. In light of the desire of major international companies to establish a presence in the Iraqi market. I think there's an article that I didn't put in today is because just too much data, but the United States has their foot in the door when it comes to establishing a big presence in the marketplace. Okay, I think you guys probably know that. It says direct investment overcomes several complications, most notably customs and transportation costs, and the country offers significant job opportunities that can be capitalized on through this type of investment. We all know that the Development Road Project is going to be about the citizens. One of the things that they're going to be doing is creating an environment for more employment for the youth. They're going to be trying to create those non-oil revenues, taxation at the borders, electronic systems, the IQD, yada, yada. Okay. He pointed out that this type of investment activates the country's production and service capabilities by providing an appropriate environment. Okay, so they have an appropriate environment. You've seen all the articles that are talking about that they have security and stability. You see major investment opportunities coming into play. And why? Because the environment is safe, secure, and stable. That's what else can you take from it? So it says the Prime Minister, this article is, Iraq is moving steadily towards achieving comprehensive and development reforms. So they've been working at it, and now they're achieving. It says, Iraq is moving steadily towards achieving comprehensive development, reforms, and entitlements, the most important of which is holding legislative elections and will confirm the commitment of the Iraqi people of all spectrum to the democratic path. One of their entitlements, of course, is elections. Another entitlement is their wealth, and that's the country's wealth, part of the oil and non-oil revenue stream. So everything that they're going to get regarding their purchasing power, etc., is going to be surrounded by the fact that they're going to develop their country, they're going to create jobs, and it has so many components to it. But that's part of that. It's definitely part of that. Okay, so the Prime Minister says that the importance of strategic relations with the United States. Like I said, the United States has a big foot in the door. That will benefit the peoples of both countries. So they're talking about America and Iraq, noting that the government welcomes all efforts to establish calm in the region and Iraq's support for meetings and dialogue aimed at ending tension, imposing security and stability. Well, there's a lot of tension going on. There's Lebanon, there's Gaza, there's Iran, there's Syria. There's a lot of tension. But obviously, they're working on all of that. It says Iraq is moving steadily towards achieving comprehensive development, reforms, and entitlements, the most important of which is holding these legislative elections and that democratic path. They had meetings with members of the United States Congress. There's a laundry list of people that were there. The bottom line is U.S. presidents will likely be the security that seals its success. The United States definitely is really good at security. They can do a lot of things, and one of them is definitely security. And it's funny. It's like some people think that we can't handle security. I'm pretty sure we're probably one of the best in the world. There's many others that are good, don't get me wrong. But anyway, you get the picture. They're basically working on achieving comprehensive development reforms and entitlements for their people. And there looks like there's nothing stopping that. And so that makes a really big impact. And the world, when they see security and stability, what do? Well, they know that there's going to be investment. The development road project is going to be going through Iraq, and the amount of money that's going to be made and the amount of growth that's going to be involved is going to be massive. And it's going to be something that's going to be going on for a long period of time. I mean, we all talk about the banks. The banks are going to make a comeback. Those folks that owned bank shares many years ago, if they still hold those shares, they're probably doing much better today than they were then, and they'll probably do far better in the future. I think those folks that lost a lot of money back then, that managed to be able to maintain and hold out, are going to effectively get what they invested for, is growth. So here's the Saudi delegation arrives in Basra to discuss opening direct flight route to Riyadh. Saudi Arabia wouldn't open that up if the security and stability wasn't guaranteed. There's no way. Right next door to an ex-foe? No, they wouldn't do that. So there's got to be more to the story, and that security and stability and that United States presence, because once United States investors come in, that secures security and stability because we take care of our country and our businesses and our interests, just like our allies do. Okay, this gentleman by the name of Al-Faraji said in a press statement that he briefed the Saudi delegation on the stable security situation in the province, the readiness of Basra International Airport to open direct flight line linking Basra to Riyadh. And as far as I'm concerned, the Saudis know it's time to open up with Iraq. Security situation is well taken care of, as you see by the USA talking about it. And that was yesterday. So that's big information. The next one is the economic expert. So there's a lot of experts out talking. There is a need to establish a supreme authority for transgovernmental strategies. This gentleman's name is Durham Muhammad Ali. He confirms on Monday that the strategic government programs cannot be completed after the change of governments due to the change of goals and plans from one government to another. But he also says that the economic reform cannot be achieved through interim measures, but rather through strategic plans that continue for years with the aim of achieving what's required. So he knows that once it gets started, there's going to be still a lot of work to do. Many of the components of economic reform that have begun to take place need follow-up because they take a long time to yield practical results that positively reflect on the economy. So it does take time. You start something, you don't start seeing the effects for some time. But if they do the proper reforms, you'll see results. He points out that the banking and financial reform, developing the private sector and the investment environment are the priorities, along with combating corruption to achieve the best possible results. And I think we saw an article yesterday or the day before that talked about they clawed back quite quite a lot of dinar from the dollar auction people. I think it was 1.3 billion dinars in just one clawback. But anyway, what's taking place are basically ongoing reforms, and that process is going to be for years to come. You know, the foreign minister, what is it, Fuad Hussein? The guy he's global, he's world renowned. He's a mediator. He's a foreign relations person. We saw him with al-Sudani back in 2024. He arrives before the prime minister, and like we see with this Antalya, with the United States and Iran, a lot of ministers, foreign ministers were there. They had sideline meetings and so forth. But so anyway, what's he have to say? He says, Iraq plays a pivotal role in quelling regional tensions through balanced foreign policy. So again, this is talking about a mediator role, I would say. He says, on the sidelines of the participation of the Antalya Diplomatic Forum and discussed during the meetings the most prominent international and regional issues, reviewing the positions of Iraqi foreign policy towards them. The minister points out that the major shifts in the balance of power in the region and on multiple tracks, whether at the military and security levels or at the international level, and their impact on the geopolitical situation. He goes on and talks a little bit about Syria, the Gaza Strip, things of that type. But he says, regarding Iraq and Turkish relations, he points out that the development of bilateral relations with Turkey, especially in the security and economic fields, noting that Iraq is working to strengthen cooperation to confront common challenges, including combating terrorism and regulating the border movement. He says Ankara is an important partner in efforts to achieve regional stability. So it's going to be a big work effort. You got Saudi Arabia, you got Turkey, you got negotiations with Iran right now. Pretty sure that Jordan's on board. You know, they're all neighbors. So he says Hussein welcomed the resumption of negotiations between Iran and the United States, expressing his hope that the dialogues would continue to lead to a preliminary agreement that would avert the specter of war, because the alternative would be disastrous for the region and the world. And he says both the Iranian and American sides have expressed willingness to continue negotiations, and we consider this a positive step. And we all know that they had a meeting last Saturday. They're having another one this Saturday. It says Iraq plays a pivotal role in extinguishing hotbeds of tension in the region. Again, their role is what? As a mediator. Iraq plays a mediator role extinguishing hotbeds of tension in the region through balanced foreign policy based on the principle of dialogue and mutual understanding. I got a couple of paragraphs in Patreon for this. If you guys want to watch or take a look at what I had to say, feel free to come on in and see the article. It's powerful in a sense of knowing that al-Sudani has some top players working for him with the utmost respect of the United States Treasury. I think Fouad he's a crack-up guy. It's just like Saleh or al-Nasuri and other advisors. Al-Sudani's team is basically top-notch. He says Iraq awaits economic breakthrough following U.S.-Iran agreement. Interesting article. It says, amid the successive crisis facing Iraq, the national economy stands on the edge of waiting and anticipation, searching for a glimmer of hope that will provide relief amid blocked financial horizons and tightening a noose around the local market. When they talk about that, they're talking about tightening a noose on the local market. They're talking about the black market. That's my view on it, anyway. Amid the anxiety of traders and the fear of consumers, the signs of the anticipated agreement between the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran emerge as an opportunity that may carry within it the features of an economic breakthrough after years of suffering due to sanctions and regional tensions. So there sounds like benefit for the neighbor of Iran, because it's been, a long time. It's been a long time. I hope it works out the best. Okay, with every announcement or hint of progress in the negotiation, Iraqis' hope are pinned on the possibility of liberating themselves from the shackles of complex transactions, and that this agreement will transform from a mere political card into a key to facilitating trade, ensuring stability, protecting what remains of their purchasing power and economic capacity, which has been weakened by regional tensions. Protecting what remains of their purchasing power. That point right there has my cogs going, because Iraq really doesn't have a whole lot of purchasing power at 1310, but they have an expectation of purchasing power. And if there was to be a big problem with the neighbor, for instance, and we all know that what that could mean, it's a three-letter word, would be detrimental to Iraq. Okay. The one thing is that the purchasing power, the expectation, even on the street, I did a thing in Patreon, is that the deletion of the Zeros Project is definitely on their minds, especially the tribal leaders in Iraq, which includes politicians. Okay, they're concerned about that, the deletion of the Zeros Project, but they're fully aware of it. And that's where their purchasing power is. But the average guy on the street that doesn't have a whole lot of dinars, they want that purchasing power because they want the prices to come down so they can afford to live. The wealthy tribal leaders, potentially, well, if they have a lot of cash and they put that cash in the banks, they think that they could probably get more money in and out of the country. So whether that's legal or not, up over $10,000 is that's on them. But it's true. That's, in my view, that's true. That's some of those folks over there are concerned about their purchasing power. Yes, Winnie. So the gentleman goes on. Expert Nasser Tamimi, he confirms on Monday, the 14th today, that the expected agreement between the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have economic benefits for Iraq. Tamimi, he says that the expected agreement between Washington and Tehran during the next phase is not only politically and security-wise important for Iraq, but has economic benefits for Iraq. Yeah, so if they have economic benefits for Iraq coming, that's what they're definitely looking forward to. Tamimi, he goes on and says the expected agreement between Washington and Tehran during the next phase is not only politically and security-wise important for Iraq, but also has those economic benefits. And I have to reiterate that because this agreement will lift some U.S. sanctions against Iran, especially those related to dollar issue. Okay, so he says that this may allow Iraq to conduct commercial transaction with Iran in dollars through official and legitimate means and stop the black money transfers, black market money transfers used by most traders. So obviously that's a key component. So in other words, the United States is willing to allow Iraq to use the dollar that they get from oil to do trade like they normally would, but if they can't get it, and they're not going to be able to trade with it outside of legitimate means, well, that's where the black market is. The black market is illegitimate. They're illegal. They do drug smuggling. They do all kinds of different nefarious things. And so, but if they're on board and they're able to get into the new system, which is transparent, and they can monitor, track all of those different transactions, they can know their customers to an nth degree, it'll be beneficial for the country. And again, the citizens are concerned about their purchasing power if this doesn't happen. And I would be too. But I'm not, because I think that the United States is playing their cards and their chess pieces just right. And I think that under the circumstances, the neighbor has been backed into a corner. And they're probably going to, as you can see, that Khomeini has opened up for direct talks. You've seen articles out that suggest that they're having internal problems, not only external problems. So I think the time is of now. And one thing that they'll have as an external problem is that their currency has depreciated dramatically. The Toman and the Rial are horrifyingly cheap, okay? But if they get back on board and Iraq makes a move to an exchange rate change, the theory is that it might be that quick and easy fix that the United States thinks it can do. Because if the currency is reset and adjust, and Iran's not part of the system, they will definitely have some internal problems. And we've already seen that, and the news supports it. Okay, so basically, he says, with escalation talk about a possible agreement between Washington and Tehran, expectations are growing that some of the restrictions imposed by will be eased. He says that this could give Iraq a new opportunity to regulate its trade with Iran through official and legitimate channels, mitigate the impact of recurring energy crisis, and restore some balance to the local market, which has been chronically constrained by these regional and international challenges. I don't know. Interestingly enough, this article is telling to me it's that Iraqis are apparently looking at this next event. In a sense, why? Because it's very important for these guys to reach an agreement, and if they're successful, what are they going to be doing? They're going to be facilitating trade with all their neighbors. They're going to be ensuring stability in the region. They're going to even more so than today. Iraq we all see that they're having total security and stability. Investors wouldn't come in if it wasn't secure and stable. And again, back to the citizens being concerned about their purchasing power, I would be too. So let's just see what happens this weekend. But a snippet here was that I put in this particular article is that the top Iranian officials told al-Khamenei to allow U.S. nuke talks or risk the fall of the regime. That was from the New York Times. And here's another one that says from the New York Times. It says the U.S. and Iran are set to meet in Oman on Saturday, that's this coming Saturday, for talks over Tehran's rogue nuclear program. It says the New York Times senior Iranian officials who are familiar with the deals. Khamenei held a meeting last month attended by the heads of judiciary and parliament. Those officials, in what sources described as unusual, coordinated effort, pressured Khamenei into accepting talks with Washington, even direct ones. And the White House had a comment. It says White House insisted on Friday that the talks would be direct. There is a difference between indirect and direct. Indirect is where they use a mediator, and Iraq fits that, but then they were in Oman, and Oman has been involved in the nuclear negotiations as a mediator back in 2015. So regardless of who's involved, but we did talk about that Fuad Hussein, forgive me if I got that wrong, but the bottom line is that we know that he's been there on the sidelines talking to other countries, Turkey, and but the bottom line is sideline deals are a big thing for the foreign minister. He's quite good at it. Okay, so this last article, it says Trump will solve the problem. That's the title of it, okay? Trump will solve the problem with Iran, which is an easy issue. It says the problem with Iran will be solved soon, noting that it is an easy matter, end quote. He talked about we will solve the problem of the Ukrainian war and deal with the problem of inflation in the United States, our country. He added, pointing out, we will not let other countries continue to exploit us that have done what they have done during the last 40 years. So he's putting, I guess what you want to call the kibosh on a lot of things. And he's doing it globally. And here it is in relationship to Iraq and many different countries, and you guys have been probably watching mainstream media here in the United States, and there's a lot of banter back and forth about it, but the ultimate thing is let's do what's fair. Let's level the playing field and I think Iraq's on board with that. Basically, the USA seems to be very confident in easing all the matters to solve these problems, and I have a strong feeling that the confidence that the United States is presenting is probably not wrong. I mean, like I said earlier on, my theory is if Iraq changes the value of their currency in short order, and maybe even prior to this meeting, I think Iran is probably going to do what's right, and because they probably don't have any choice, because it doesn't look good for them, not necessarily for those that are worried in Iraq. Anyway, that's what I have for you guys tonight. I'm pretty pumped for this whole thing. I think that what I just described is realistic, because you see some of the biggest players in the world that all have a positive tone. And I think that's probably because I think the smart people, the big money, the IMF, the Bank of International Settlements, the United States Treasury, the U.S. Federal Reserve, they have a good understanding of how to do things. And at this time, I think that with this new administration and what they're presenting that this new administration is doing, looks to be probably pretty spot on and going to make things get better. So thank you very much for being with us. If you like my content, please don't forget, hit that like button and subscribe. And thanks again. All the details are there for all of you that are so kind and to help us with donations to keep this place going. By the way, the value that we bring in Patreon in our Discord chat room, Samson, Gigi, and all the crew, we work hard at this, and we thank you for being with us, because that makes us know that you guys appreciate us. Thank you very much. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.